ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Monday, everybody. Back in the studio here. I was live on location, fortunately in Scottsdale, Arizona, so local, up at the TIA Capital Ideas Conference out there. And we are going to rock out here with a very special guest for you guys. And, you know, admittedly, I don't talk a lot about drayage on the show, because I, love to have people come in who actually live the life, you guys. I'm a broker. I do open deck freight, and I love having people come on from all walks of the industry to talk about their story, and especially founders. And we're going to break this all down today. So I want to welcome Mr. Eric Brown on the show. Eric, thank you so much for sitting down with me here this morning.
Hey, Chris, it's great to be here with the Freight Coach. I'm excited.
Oh, man. So, dude, I always like to start the shows out like this, man. How'd you get your start in freight, Eric? What brought you into transportation?
I was selling ADT security systems door to door. I was getting a little frustrated we had a new manager that came in and wanted me to come in the office all the time. And I was the SGL king. I love referrals. I had a lot of referrals, a lot of good clients, and I didn't want to come in the office. And so my friend, who I knew from high school, we kind of stayed in touch a little bit. I saw him sitting outside one day at our apartment complex when I was, in my late 20s, I guess that was. Yeah, late. Wow, this is like 99. So, man, I was 31. Oh my goodness. So I said, "Hey, bud, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Ah, man." He's like, my friend was a unauthorized street pharmaceutical rep.
Gotcha.
Highly frowned upon by law enforcement.
Yeah.
And he said, and if you know anything with trucking, with a lot of owner operators are guys that are former felons. That's what I've seen in Philadelphia in the drayage market. Guys they're done with that life, the criminal life, and they have a hard time getting a job, so they go out and buy a truck and become an owner operator. And my buddy was like, he had got caught with a trash bag full of grass, not the legal kind. And at that time, New Jersey was illegal. And he said, "Look, I can't go back to jail again. I'll have to stay a long time." He's like, "I'm done with that life. I want to get in the trucking, man. I'll teach you how to drive." His name was KJ. He's like, "I'll teach you how to drive. You get in the truck, we'll split it 50-50. And he had a 1997, no, oh my gosh, it was an 89 cab over Ford.
Yeah.
With a cat in it. I can't remember what model. But man, we got in that truck, dude, and never looked back, man. It was a hard 2 years, because of course I go from a job leaving like benefits, investments, 80,000 a year, and I was so tired of my job and being in the office. I just wanted to see the open road. So the trucking looked attractive to me. I was like, I can get in the truck, see the world. I mean, see the country, just drive anywhere. So that was my goal, just to get in the truck. He would teach me how to drive, and I took my retirement money and bought a truck and a reefer trailer, and never looked back, man.
I love it. I think so many individuals, Eric, they wait for like the perfect, everything has to be lined up, and then they want to go and take that leap. And, again, I'm not going to ever advocate for anybody to empty their 401k, go out on their own. Like I get that life isn't for everybody. But I also understand that if you want to build something, like, it's going to take a lot of risk. And especially if you're out there on your own, whether you're buying a truck, whether you're going out to start your own freight brokerage, your own company of any kind, it takes a lot more risk than I think most people can stomach. And that's why it's like, when I have founders like yourself on the show who talk about that, I want people to stop in that moment and be like, hey, the allure of being your own boss is very intoxicating when you're getting a direct deposit every 2 weeks. But can you stomach emptying everything you've worked for in your life and putting it in to making your dream work? And there is a 90% failure rate that comes along with that. If you can stomach that just to start, go out and get it. And then you're going to come up and see all these other hurdles along the way of, like, i.e., people don't pay you for the work that you do. And you got, 20 grand due in payables on the 1st, and you're owed 35,000 in receivables on the 29th. And, again, like, those are very real situations that you're going to come up with. So it's like, I love just that opening couple of minutes there, Eric, is like, man, there's so much truth in that, because you walked away from an $80,000 a year job. How many people told you you're crazy? Why are you doing this?
My mom didn't tell me I was crazy, but the look of disappointment in her eyes was like, "Are you sure?" Like, it haunts me today. I can still see her eyes looking at me like that. And it took me decades to understand that hey, 99 being an entrepreneur wasn't that sexy,
Yeah.
now like it is on social media now. But back then I'm like, geez, my mom sent me to private school. I went to college, I dropped out. And now here I am, like I'm supposed to be like the president of the United States, and I'm driving a truck. So, Chris, it took me years to stop looking at trucking as my I love my wife dearly and I don't have side girlfriends, but I know guys that have done that life. They have a good wife at home, and they treat but they're always out with this side chick. And I treated my company, JTP, like it was a side chick. And I had, but she was a good wife. She always supported me. She was always there for me, but I was always looking for the other thing. And it took me maybe about, 15 years before I said, whoa, wait a minute, till almost lost the company. So I said, oh my gosh, this is what we pray for God to give you things, and then here it is right in my lap. It allows me to travel anywhere I want to go. I've made relationships coast to coast. I stopped driving back in '02 because we started I started dispatching other drivers, and I brought on other guys, but it's allowed me to do so much, and here it is, it's right in my lap. So I started giving it more respect, and started how to learn to become a proper CEO instead of a guy just hanging out with his friends. Because, and I think that was important to get me through those rough times, because I didn't get into trucking for the money. I got in it to see the country, not be in an office, not have a boss over top of me, even though you do, but not have a boss over top of me, stuck in the office, and be with my friends. Because I knew my buddy, who was a former street pharmaceutical rep, he had other friends that were former street pharmaceutical reps, unauthorized street pharmaceutical reps. So these guys were dynamite, and we really changed the way drayage was done in Philadelphia because of their drug dealers are just in the wrong business. A lot of them are very intelligent, and they're hustlers. They watch everything. There is, people complain about, when I started with 6 guys, uh, people complain about drivers going to work. I hear horror stories about some drivers, but drug dealers don't stop working. That's not a 9 to 5. These
I,
guys work until whenever, around the clock.
Eric, I think, and we were kind of talking about this before we got on air
Uh-huh.
here, about how there's only a couple of key choices in my life that I could look back on, and how different your life would look if you would have stuck on one path
Mm,
or another. And I look at that, and the same thing with, I know a lot of former addicts too, who
mhm.
are all like, when you have, like, this is going to sound really bad, and I don't mean that being an addict is a superpower, but what I mean is the tendencies that you follow with addiction in, like, drinking. Because I used to drink a
Ah,
lot.
yeah.
And it's like, and then if you can channel that properly into other areas of your life, you can. And I think that that's what you're describing there, because, like,
Yeah.
I see it in myself, and I know a lot of other people who are former addicts of other substances, alcohol, whatever you want to call it, that they all come to that point. They're like, man, when I found that thing that I could properly channel all of that into,
Mm-mm-mm.
it's amazing what you can build and what you will work towards and everything. And I think that there's a lot of synergies there, man. And again, it's like the label behind a lot of it is, I think that some individuals are, if they can properly channel their addiction into healthy things, like I've
Hmm.
taken it from drinking every single day to, because to working out every single day and building my business every single day and focusing on positive things every day. And if you can properly channel that, man, you can do some really good things. And I know, unfortunately, not everybody gets to that point. Some people lose that battle before they're able to do that. But I think what you're
Yeah.
describing, man, like when you can get that hustle, because I talk about this often, man. The only thing I can teach anybody anything they need to know about freight, I can't teach a work ethic. You
Ugh.
either have it or you don't. And I think, but sometimes it gets lost in other areas. But if you can channel that properly, and you can do a lot of special things.
Special things. Yeah, yeah, you're not lying with that. Just channel it, and then if you get into trucking for the money, you'll get out of it for when the money goes bad. And there's like if in being an entrepreneur, cash flow always is up and down. I don't know, certain companies I guess hit it great and they just
Yeah.
trajectory is on a straight line, but mine's been like Disney roller coasters,
Yeah.
up and down as I learned because I didn't go to business school, and I just started going back to school to learn how to be a proper CEO. But and I'm still learning. My gosh, and I can't wait till I want to push my company to where it's so attractive. It's almost like looking at a Ferrari that people want to buy my company, and not that I want to sell it, but I'm just, being an
I,
entrepreneur is a rough life.
no, it is, and it's not for everybody. But I don't know anybody who has that up and to the right P&L. Where they're just constantly
Yeah.
making money, and there's seasonality that comes along with it, right? But it's like you kind of. I think that in today's environment on social media, it makes it look very easy. It makes it look
Hmm.
so easy out there. And, I also look at it like this, man. And, again, some people, hey, they took off during COVID. Good for them. That's not my story. That's not the path that I'm supposed to be on. And
Hmm.
it's, I look back because I mean, dude, I've only been self-employed now for 6 years, Eric. And
Wow. Yeah.
again, it's been the most challenging yet most rewarding thing that I've ever done.
Isn't
And
that that's
I
so
look,
that's so strange, ain't it? They're
yeah, but it's
both
like,
things at the same time.
and that's it, right? But I also go back to like, like what we were talking about beforehand. Like, man, for the longest time, I was praying. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to do my own thing. And now it's in my lap and it's like, hey, this is what you're supposed to go through. Like, I think that's what I always rely on in those
Yeah.
dark times is I do rely on my faith. Like, I pray every day. I've just started reading the Bible every single day again. I started listening to a Bible in a year podcast because I'm trying to be honest with you, man, being a control freak that I am, I'm trying to let go and truly surrender everything to the path that I'm on from God. And
Amen.
I look at the business that you're describing there, and it's like, I look at other people too, and I'm like, damn, man, like, why haven't I got that yet? And then I do have to go back down to the fact because it's not your responsibility to worry about what other people are going on. I got to worry about me, my path, my journey, and understand that there's ups and downs that are going to come along with it. And
Hmm.
that's not for me to worry about. I gotta,
Hmm.
the hardest thing that I've struggled with in my faith, Eric, is I gotta let go. Like I gotta fully let go though and
Yeah.
surrender. And I can't feel the need to try and jump in and take back control every time something happens that I don't think is fair or right.
Yeah, it's amazing how we put ourselves in those situations when God is just calling us, all through the scriptures and saying that to let go. My burden is light. Take off that heavy burden. And when my mother died in '07, I was going through crazy times. Not wanting to work. I'm like, geez, what's all this? I was in sometimes we go through, I call it like, sometimes I look back now and I want to say, dude, you're being silly. But I'm like, man, what is all this worth? I'm out here working every day, never seeing my family. Now my mom's gone. So blah, blah, blah. So what I did was my pastor talked to me and I came back to faith back in '07. and because I was in a dark place. And sometimes when you're in a dark place, the only light you can see is Christ. So I came back and my rededicated my life back to Jesus Christ. And then my pastor was my best friend. We grew up since we were little kids. And he says, "Have you ever thought about dedicating your company to Jesus Christ?" And I'm like, "Huh, that's different." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah." And what I did, Chris, is I made him the president, and I'm just the supervisor.
Yeah.
So that helped. That took so much pressure off of me. And sometimes in life we don't realize how much pressure is on you until it's gone. And I would say, like, those financial problems, those, hanging around with these guys. And back then, '07, I'm still kind of young, probably, only about 8 years old into trucking. And still hanging around guys who are former street life guys, but they're done with that life, but they're always bending rules. So they're always presenting things to me that are like, "Hey, I got this fuel for real cheap. This guy has a fuel truck. Well, how much is it? Well, it's $1 a gallon." Well, I didn't see the guy steal the fuel, but it's
Yeah.
probably,
I mean,
and so when I dedicated my company to Christ, I was like, "Jesus," I'm like, "Lord, I don't know how we're going to get the money to pay for the fuel this month. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but this is your company. I just work here, so you're going to have to figure it out, Lord." I'm going to do the right thing, and we're gonna make it. And man, that was a blessing, man. Doing taxes the right way.
oh,
Owner operators always talking about, "Oh, I found this accountant and zero taxes." Yeah, yeah. Wait 10 years from now when you get like $1 million tax bill and you're getting a lien against you for the rest of your life till you're 80 years old.
yeah, dude. Eric. Man, you're speaking to me on such a deeper level right now in a lot of things, because it's like my number one core value in my business is do the right thing, and I
Yeah, do the
understand
right
that's a
thing.
very subjective statement, but I feel like as human beings, it's in our DNA. We know when we're doing right and when we're doing wrong. And you're talking about a lot, like with taxes and all of that stuff.
Ugh.
I was never going to take any shortcuts. I never wanted to take any shortcuts in business, because I don't like, again, back to like with the high failure rate that comes along with it. If I'm not afraid to fail at all, I'm not at this point. I've tried. I know the work that I've put into it. If it's not in my, like, if something happens, it happens. I could never live with myself though if I looked back and I could pinpoint something I knowingly did to try and skirt the rules that
Mm,
led to that failure, right? Where, like,
yeah,
you're talking about tax liens and everything else. Like, I
yeah.
could never live with myself at that point, because of, and I think that that's where a lot of people, when they start a business, they get caught up with the wrong CPA, the wrong bookkeeper, all of
Ugh.
that stuff, where it's like, man, I got clean books. And I'm going to caution anybody right now, if you're going to go out there and do it, getting aligned with the right CPA and bookkeeper is a godsend, because when you're self-employed, it's hard enough to get financing of any kind, whether it's a business line of credit, business credit card, all of that. Just wait till you go out and try and buy a house in yourself
Yeah.
if you've never owned a house before.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
and here's the thing, what saved me in that moment is I told the mortgage company, I'm like, "Hey, I can put you in direct contact with my CPA. He can send you my 3 years of financials." And the mortgage company at the time said, they're like, "As soon as you told us that, we knew you were a low risk loan, because we knew
Wow.
if you were working with all of those people, you like, we just felt a lot better about it." And I caution everybody, because it is, man, it's such a journey. There's so much bad advice that's out there.
Oh my
And
goodness.
you need to hear from the individuals who've done it. So it's like, I talk about that. And it's like, if you're going to go out there and you're going to be in business for yourself, man, do not skirt the rules. Like, they are like lawyers, insurance, all they are hoping you had a bad day and miss
Hmm.
and overlook something, so they can bury you and not have to pay out in those situations.
Oh, they will. They will. I've been through a lot of it. I've had liens, tax liens. I've come out the other side of that, a couple of them. And accidents where everything you can skirt the rules, and it's all good until something bad happens. And then if somebody gets hurt really bad in an accident, my goodness, the lawyers will come after you and they will make you look so bad for the smallest of things.
Oh yeah.
Because with you being in the trucking, if you're in the courtroom and you're listening, like, oh yeah, that's normal practice. We all do that in trucking. But a lawyer will take that and present it to a lawyer, to the jury. Never got in front of a jury, but I got in front of what do they call it, where you have the pre thing before you go to trial. And they said, wait a minute now. So you're saying that you actually didn't? I'm like, oh my gosh, the way this guy is talking, it sounds like I'm the worst owner operator in the world. But so you're right on it. And you have to get around good people and with good advice, and look at their track record, vet them. If you see a bookkeeper, go try to talk to somebody that they're already working with, because
Yeah.
it's you don't want those problems. And when something really bad happens, you said it right, the lawyers and attorneys and everything will really crawl up you. And I've made it, and luckily God's been on my side. But you have to pay the hard way.
Yeah.
There's no free
It,
lunches.
man, that's the thing though. But it's like I also look at it like that's the best education out there. Is you need to be in that situation to actually learn. Because I think otherwise you start to develop the invisibility complex where then it just starts there, right? Like it starts with
Hmm.
that, and then all of a sudden it just starts to snowball in the opposite direction. Because again, like I look at it where it's like it's hard enough to make it in the real world, we'll call it. I don't want to add any more hurdles into my, like, I like sleeping at night, Eric.
Yeah.
Like there's already enough sleepless nights in my life. I don't want to add any additionals on there because I think I'm going to outsmart the legal system or the government or anything else. And it's one of those things where it's like I feel like that comes along with a very deep sense of discipline, because it is very easy to think that you're going to outsmart it, and then it leads up into big problems, man. And I think that's why a lot of people get themselves in trouble in this industry.
You're right.
I really do. And not just trucking, in every industry is
Yeah.
they think that it's not going to happen to them. So they go down that wrong path. And sometimes it's unknowingly, but again, when it's your name on the line, when it's your name on the business license and everything, it's your fault. Like that accountability is massive. And I think that is another area where you got to focus in on that accountability, where it's like, if it's your name on the side of the wall, doesn't matter if you have one truck, 1,000 trucks,
Oh
one
my gosh,
employee,
no.
like it's on you. It's on
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's on you. And that's amazing, man. So, I was never somebody that got in trouble with the law, but I would always push the limits. Like, I had to become the person that you are. And that was only by, like, surrendering
Yeah.
to Jesus Christ, just to get that kind of Chris out of my head, just do it the right way, because I was surrounded by so many people that are always cutting corners here and there, and you are who your friends are. So you have to be careful. Now, all the guys I started with, they no longer work with me, but they have their own companies now, and they're all doing great.
Yeah.
But at some point, where I was trying to go, they were satisfied with me. I'm not saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with being here, but I was trying to go here,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get there. You're fooling yourself if you think you can have people around you and they don't influence you,
Oh yeah.
to a certain extent. And that's what a lot of my stumbling blocks were, to make it to the next level. And
Yeah.
now we're trying to go even higher. So I'm finding new friends. And I
No,
still love them. I still talk to the guys.
gotcha.
We still reminisce about the old days, but what got me here won't get me there.
Yeah, I do. It's very true, right? It's very true. You got to surround yourself with people who want to push you to that next level. And again, I also, man, I got a lot of respect for people who they've reached a certain level and that's as big as they want to grow, right? Like
Yeah.
they're like, hey, man, I'm making 150 grand a year. I'm
Hmm.
good. Like I don't
Hmm.
want any more than this. I got my life to a point where I am fully satisfied with it, right? It's rare.
Yeah.
I think some people say it, but I've met a few of them that they're like, man, I don't want to have 50 employees. I got a couple of employees and I'm good. Like this is what I
Hmm.
want to do. and I've got the life that I want. And, again, it's like, there's a lot of power in that. But I also, if you're going to level up in your business, right? Like, you got to get around certain individuals who actually built that company, though, because
Yeah.
some of my highly educated friends have a very hard time when I tell them this. Like, I don't care how many letters you have behind your name, i.e., MBA, PhD, all of that stuff. My personality type, Eric, if you've never done what you're talking about, I have a very hard time listening to you, because my thing is, if your advice is so real, why didn't you do it? Because
Yeah.
like it building up a business, all that stuff, if that works so well, go do it, because it is way more lucrative to build a company than it is to go work for somebody else if your advice
Absolutely.
works that well. And again, that I'm not saying their advice is bad or wrong or anything. My mentality, my personality type does not align with that, because I'm like, if it works so well, why aren't you doing it?
Yeah, yeah. If it, and I think it comes down to a lot of good entrepreneurs are just trying to solve a problem, or wanting to serve other people, and it's like it's an itch. I can't stop it, And I had this conversation with my wife. She was like, "Are we sure we want to go bigger?" And it's like I'm not looking to go bigger. I just kind of want to enjoy what I have in a bigger way. So
Yeah,
maybe our the programs we have for our employees are nicer. Let's try to incentivize, do different programs for with our drivers, something that's more fun. Expand the company that way.
yeah,
To where it's a company they already love to work for us, but eh, it's probably because of the way we treat them with respect. And I used to be a driver, so I get it. I used to be a driver and an owner operator, I know the struggle. So I teach my whole team to give these guys some slack. We don't really fuss them out over the phone while they're working. We try to wait till they're done. Cause I'm like, guys, they got 80,000 pounds on their back.
correct.
You don't want them all upset on the road. But it's been a wonderful journey, and I'm just gonna keep going with it, Chris. Podcasting is something new for me, even though, me and you
Well,
started around the same time, but you're
yeah,
light years ahead of me. you know.
but dude, that's the thing is, man, with everything, I think you have to have you have to put aside logic in certain situations and just start.
Hmm.
Like, I truly do, because
Yeah.
everything I've tried the business plan. I've tried we have the next 5 years mapped out. And guess what? None of it
Ugh,
happened. None of
yeah.
it happened. Right. So it's like, you truly have to possess in a figure it out level that I don't know if a lot of people do. There's times that I question it, right? Like, when
Yeah.
I'm sitting
Yeah.
here and I'm like, man, I kind of emptied everything to make this work, and we're not where I thought we would be at this point. And again, but you have to have the I will figure it out, because
Yeah.
otherwise maybe that life's not for you, and that's okay too. And that's like, I wish more people would stop and think like, hey, do I actually want to do this or not?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, like, there's no shame in that at all. You got to go out and find what you want to do every single day
Count the
for the
cost.
remainder of your life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you got to count the cost, man, and if it's what you, because I've lost a lot of money in the last few years. We're still doing well, but I've tried different venues of trucking, different avenues, different customers, and insurance prices going up, and having to do different things, and some of them didn't pan out.
Yeah.
But it's not why I'm doing it. I'm not. I like the money, but I like trying to help people. I'm trying to, if like Smoking the Bandits, one of my favorite
Oh yeah.
favorite movies. Anytime I get a customer that challenges me, like, oh, we tried, this whoever else we were using couldn't get it from A to B like we needed it. Can you get it done? And I feel like Burt Reynolds at that time. I'm like, hmm, we can get this Coors Light from Texas to Georgia, in a short period of time. Like, I want to do what others say can't be done. And that really motivates me, especially when we get it done and the customer is amazed. And that's the type of service we do. We specialize in temperature control drayage. That's more white glove service and more
Yeah.
expedited. So,
Dude,
that's what drives me, not the cash.
I love it, man. Eric, I'm gonna have to have you back on. We're out of
Yeah.
time. This flew by, but I really appreciate you joining, and we'll talk a little bit more about the niche next time in doing that, because I think there's a lot of power in the niche, especially inside of transportation. But how does anybody reach out to you though, Eric, to find out more about what you got going on?
Yeah. Check me out on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You can look me under Eric Jonathan Brown or Eric Brown JTP.
Perfect. Eric, sounds
Yeah.
good, man. If you guys can't find Eric out there, hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in direct contact with him. But that is going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.